All right. Well, like I said, welcome everyone, and thank you for joining. Um, this is a great chance for us to hear from two of our illustrious MFEs. One has just recently graduated from the MFE program and is joining us from, I believe, San Francisco, Armando. And the other is actually on campus right now, outdoors, and is joining us between classes, I would imagine, Chris. And we also have on this call, first, my name is Leanna Cortez. I am the MFE Associate Director of Admissions and the program. I have been with the program since its inception in 2008. We graduated our first class in 2009. And I've been with the program since we started it. And I also have Jeff Credidio here on this call. He is my right hand. And Jeff, if you want to say a couple words.
Sure, absolutely. Hey, everybody. Very glad you were able to join us today, wherever you are in the world. We have two awesome guests for you guys here with Armando and Chris. So I hope you take advantage and learn a lot from this session. And yeah, thanks for being here.
Wonderful. Okay, and with that, let's move on. So, for those of you, I know that some of you already may know what financial engineering is, but for those of you who are just discovering us for the first time, I would say, what is financial engineering? Other names for financial engineers or for financial engineering, you can consider mathematical finance, computational finance, financial mathematics. And what financial engineers do is it takes the concepts from math, statistics, and computer science and integrates them with finance theory. So financial engineering refers to the mathematical modeling, quantitative research, and analysis involved in pricing, selling, trading, and investing in a wide range of financial instruments, such as stocks, bonds, foreign currencies, commodities, derivatives like options, futures, and swaps. And our goal is to provide students with rigorous training that enables you to apply your quantitative skills in the financial markets. And we can certainly ask our MFEs if that is the case and they feel like they're getting that kind of training. But moving on, it is a full-time program. It's 15 months. And it is a STEM designated, concentrated, practical curriculum. And we are currently recruiting for the class of 2024, which begins September 2023 and ends December 2024. So it is very fast paced. And I'm going to skip past this for now, and I'm going to show you some applicant profiles. Now, these were taken and changed just a little bit, but I wanted to show you what some of our applicant profiles look like. We have an undergrad in math and econ from a large public institution in California. After working in economic development, George pivoted in nonprofit leadership. With the goal of becoming CFO of a national nonprofit, he completed computer programming certificates in R and Python to prepare for our program and is planning to pursue now a path in risk management. Other ones have come from less STEM backgrounds, and they have gone, on their own to pursue certificates in computer programming, finance, and econ, and have completed internships with multiple banks, even though they had a background in poli-sci. And we also have some other STEM backgrounds that come to us with, say, a computer engineering and entrepreneurship. And we're just highlighting that this quote unquote fictitious character Logan spent his first few years after college at a consulting firm before determining he wanted to pursue a path in asset management and investment banking. So these are just a few applicant profiles that might match some of you on this call. And with that, I will move forward to what we do as financial engineers. We've got careers in financial engineering that include quant trading and sales and trading, data science. I don't know if any of you knew that MFEs can actually go into data science. We've got people who go into quantitative research and analysis and strats and modeling. And what financial engineers do is they apply cutting edge quantitative models and methods to decision making in a variety of financial firms. And I wanted to highlight the fact that we have 4 career coaches who are dedicated to our students' success. And our career support team is effective and responsive and offers coaching on the full career journey. So we're with you every step of the way, from applications to negotiation of salary, as well as personalized one-on-one coaching to help you design, market, and pursue your career interests. And as a student, you will partner with our career support team to help you market yourself and your new skills. Our career support professionals, they are here to support, as their title would say, to help you market yourself. They will assist you with your resume development and coach you on presentation, interviewing, and negotiation skills. And we offer you individually tailored guidance to help you design and pursue your career, from securing internships to full-time employment. So, you can see those career paths on our slide here. And you can also see that we have 100% employment rate 6 months post-graduation. And this was for the class that graduated in 2020, I believe. And we're 2021. And so we're very happy to say that our employment rate is top notch. We also have 129,000 average total compensation after graduation. And so if you're looking to, get that return on your investment, here it is. And let's go into admissions requirements. So we do require that you have a 4-year degree or equivalent, with the exception of those that studied under the Bologna process. So those in Europe, applicants should present the bachelor's 3-year degree or the master's 3+2 degree. We look for quantitative aptitude and strong analytical skills. You should make sure you demonstrate that in your application. We look for a degree in math, stats, engineering, computer science, econ, mainly applied economics, and finance, but a background in STEM is great. Computer programming, we look for demonstrated computer programming skills in R or Python or C++, and computational tools. That's not a requirement, but we also, the more computer programming tools you have in your tool belt, the better. So MATLAB or SAS. And then as far as the actual application process is concerned, we do require either the GMAT or the GRE. We do not have a preference over either one. The TOEFL or the IELTS for international students. You must present either the TOEFL or the IELTS if you have not studied in the US or another English-speaking country like Australia or New Zealand or the UK. Then you need to present a TOEFL or an IELTS. And work experience is recommended. It is not a requirement. And so With that, I have a little caveat. If you have an internship that you would like to list on your application, it must be verifiable through HR. Their HR department must be able to verify. It cannot be an informal internship in which you work for someone who works at a company, but you are not considered an intern at that company. And I would go a step further and say, unless you've had full-time work experience, don't even, take the time to list your internships unless they are verifiable. And CFA progress is preferred, but it's not a requirement. It is just recommended. So don't let that stop you if you do not have CFA level 1 or 2 or 3. That's okay. 2 letters of recommendation. They can be from 1 academic and 1 professional, or if you have been out of school for a while, they can be from 2 professional recommenders. If you have not had any work experience, they can be from 2 academics, but they need to tell us about your quantitative strengths and your analytical abilities. And I would say also, there are 2 MFE essays that we require that you submit with your application. However, the graduate division requires that you also submit a personal statement and a statement of purpose. If you feel that you have more to add than what you already wrote in the 2 MFE essays, you are welcome to submit the personal statement and the statement of purpose. However, if you feel like there's enough overlap in the questions from the 2 MFE essays, you may upload those 2 MFE essays in the personal statement and the statement of purpose, as well as in the section where they are required to be uploaded. I hope that makes sense. So the interview is by invitation only, and we have rolling admissions within each round. And application and fees, the program begins in September 2023, as I mentioned. The application is currently available online. If you guys are, going to graduate in May or June of 2023, I would encourage you to take a look at the application and see if that's something that you would be interested in applying for and joining us next September. The application fee itself is $200. It is non-refundable. There are ways that you can figure out if you are eligible for a waiver, but you would have to start the application to go through that process. And application deadlines are December 31st. We have our first round. Second round is March 1st. Third round is April 30th. And the fees for the program currently are $85,276 for the class of 2023. That is subject to change and increase for the incoming class of 2024, anywhere between 3 and 5%, I would say. And I know I'm going through this relatively quickly, but I want to give the majority of our time to our panelists. So with that, scholarships and fellowships, which I know you all are probably very interested in. There is financial aid available via grad student loans. Also, we are so happy we are able to present loans for international students. Prodigy, Quorum, and Discover do not require a U.S. cosigner, and so some of our international students actually do go that route to fund their graduate education. Also on the slide, we have listed some other scholarships and fellowships. For instance, the merit-based scholarship and a limited number of merit-based scholarships of varied amounts are awarded to students based on their overall strength of their admissions application and the relative strength in the pool of admits. And awards are made by the UCLA Anderson Admissions Committee, the MFE Admissions Committee, rather, at the time of admission or at any point during the admission cycle. all applicants are considered for the merit-based scholarship from the application. So you are not required to submit any additional information. And that's one of the nice things about the merit-based scholarship is that you don't have to do any additional paperwork to be considered. So in addition to being considered for the merit-based scholarship, California residents are also eligible for a $10,000 fellowship. The California Resident Fellowship is available only to California residents who have been offered admission to the UCLA Anderson MFE program. U.S. citizens and permanent residents who have lived in California for more than 1 year qualify as California residents. And there are questions in the UCLA Graduate Division application that will determine whether or not you are eligible to be considered for that California Residency Fellowship. But there may be some of you who are California residents and you are considering applying for the MFE program. And if you are offered admission, that would be $10,000 that you were offered just for being a California resident. And we also have on our slide a picture of one of our current students, Harry Sanchez. He was selected as the inaugural recipient of our newly established Los Angeles Capital Management Fellowship. This was done in partnership with LA Capital to increase our diversity within the cohort. And it combines financial support with mentorship and an internship at a top LA finance company, such as Los Angeles Capital Management. So we are very excited to see how this goes, and we're very happy we were able to connect Harry with Los Angeles Capital Management. I think this is going to be a fantastic thing for him. And then at the bottom of our list here, we mentioned the Quantitative Finance Fellowship, and this is done through the Fink Center for Investment. And for those of you who have heard the name Larry Fink, he runs BlackRock. And that is my segue into introducing our, Embracing Diversity panelists. And we have with us Armando Guerrero and Christian Henderson. He goes by Chris. And with that, I would love for maybe Armando can start by introducing yourself to our group that is with us. Armando, are you there?
Yeah, hi, Liana. Hi, everyone. Thanks for being here. So my name is Armando Guerrero. I graduated in 21. Currently, I'm a quant research analyst at BlackRock. Before joining the MFE program, I did my undergrad over at UC San Diego, where I was a mathematics and economics major.
Wonderful. And so, Chris, why don't you go ahead and introduce yourself, your background pre-MFE? Did you have previous work experience, or did you come straight out of undergrad?
Hi, my name is Chris. I studied in New York State, Siena College. It's like near the capital of Albany. It's pretty known in New York for being a finance school. And that was my major, finance and Spanish. I also studied international finance abroad, one semester in Argentina. Prior to the program, I had early experience, 3 internships on Wall Street, one at AllianceBernstein, one at a GAM USA, an investment firm. And then I took a break and I was actually teaching for several years. And I decided after I was teaching for a few years, I was ready to be able to recommit back into the finance in the corporate world. And I chose a financial engineering program at UCLA because, of course, I love UCLA. It's one of the few schools where it's warm during the winter, well-ish during the daytime. And I didn't want to be stuck in another winter in New York City studying finance there. So I came out to LA, and I love medicine.
Oh, that's wonderful. And it's November 17th, I will note, and Chris is sitting outdoors
Yes.
at UCLA Anderson.
And I don't even need the hoodie. It's just on me because I don't want to take it off.
Right, exactly. So that's another great plus of studying on the West Coast. So maybe I can ask both of you, what actually led you to choose an MFE versus an MBA or another grad degree?
Yeah, I guess I'll kick us off.
Okay.
So for me, it was sort of where my interest align, right? I think there's this sort of notion that an MBA is more a sort of like a generalist type of managing people type of role. For me, I was much more interested in kind of the puzzle that sort of finance presents. And so that sort of led to a discussion or debate where, do I want to go with like an MFE? Do I want to do some sort of master's in data analytics, maybe something like a PhD? And for me, just given that my interest was more aligned with finance, I felt like the MFE might just have a slight edge over the data analytics program. And then kind of just doing my further research in terms of where a data analytics degree would take me, I decided to go with the MFE instead.
Wonderful. Thank you. And Chris?
So I chose the MFE program over the MBA because I knew that I was capable of recommitting myself to another hard push academically. And I knew that in my mid-20s, it probably would have been like my last time go back to school. So I definitely wanted to commit to the hardest skill. And I also have a pretty big extroverted personality. So I knew that I'd be able to leverage the benefits that the MBA program does have as well. So I would say if you definitely can handle the MFE program, it's much more rigorous. But I think that that's the point, because it also like changes how you think. And I chose the MFE program over like the MSBA because in general, if anybody can use a skill to make money, like they're really going to like learn how that skill really is going to be profitable. So if you're applying like these high level math models and these formulas to making money, like you're really going to be aware of like how it's working. And it's also kind of cool that a lot of like the formulas and stuff come from like even like physics theories and just like theories in science. And say, oh wow, they can easily just be like transferred over to the finance world. And it's also like very exciting as well, and like to really see all the different ways that you can commit yourself, like math wise, into the industry.
Wonderful. Thank you so much, Chris and Armando. So I'm wondering, let's dig a little deeper into what led you both to choose the UCLA Anderson MFE. What were some of the deciding factors?
Yeah, so for me, there was, I think this might be a bit biased, but I wanted to stay in California. So there are only so many programs to choose from in California. So beyond that, it was sort of where the type of field I wanted to get into. So kind of before joining the program, I knew I wanted to go either into asset management or quantitative research. I wasn't super interested in complex securities or options pricing or trading really, or anything of that nature. And, you know, I did what any sane person does. I went on LinkedIn and I started searching UCLA MFE to try and figure out, okay, where are all the people who graduate from the MFE program going? And I saw there was a fair amount of them going into asset management. And compared to other programs, I just found this distribution to be a bit better. And that's why I decided to go with UCLA. And of course, it doesn't hurt that like the UCLA brand also carries some weight of its own. So that's definitely a big plus.
Right. And I'm really glad that you brought that up, that you looked on LinkedIn to see what others had, that where they were going with their degree. And that's a great piece of advice for everyone on this call, to take the time to research and look. You know, you may not know exactly what you want to do with your degree or your career path, where you want it to path into. But it is very, very useful to take a look at LinkedIn and start looking at some of the different degrees. Check and see where someone that you think is doing a job that you would be interested in doing, take a look at their career path, but also their educational path to how they got to that career that you think you might want. So Chris, if I could ask you the same question, what were the deciding factors besides weather?
Well, one, of course, is what Armando says, the UCLA brand. I think that the UCLA brand it just carries like worldwide, and also like the business school itself. It's a lot of diversity of where like everyone who enters the business school, whether you're an MBA, MFE, or MSBA, want to land industry-wise. And I knew that it would be beneficial for me to be able to network even like laterally with my peers, because a lot of the even like the MBA students and the MSBA students, as well as the MFE, they want to pivot into different industries, not only in LA but across like the states. And I knew that that was more of the culture of UCLA, and of course, like the faculty are world-renowned. If you look up just like some of the big names in the program, like Michael Chernoff, like Professor Longstaff, these are like world leaders. They have like many papers. Their name really reverberates across like the finance industry. And just coming from the finance background, I can talk to my professors about my old professors about my new professors, and they were like, "Oh yeah, I studied his paper like 20 years ago when I was getting my PhD." And like to have a school and to learn from professors that had that big of an effect is definitely what made me choose UCLA, and it was a great choice.
We're glad you feel that way. And with that, Chris, that's a great segue. Your experience while in the program. Maybe you can tell us a little bit about the experience you've had while in the program.
Okay, it definitely was a challenging experience, and when the more people you talk to, I think that everybody will say the same thing, and I never thought that I'd be one of those people saying the same thing again. Armando, I'm sure you're the same. It was very difficult, but it was a good type of difficult because it really challenged you, and also it changes how you think. So if you come from a diverse background or a different background, that obviously includes the academics of STEM, but a worldly point of view, it really helps to allow you to see things in a much more refined way, even things that have nothing to do with finance or math. And the program definitely helped me communicate internationally with my peers. Like the program is quite international as well. So you're constantly in classes with people from India, China, Italy here as well. But what it does is that it really allows you to be like one of the world, and you get a lot new perspectives. And you're doing a lot of group assignments. So definitely the program, it's difficult, but everyone goes through the same thing in terms of like the degree of difficulty. But when you're through it, you really understand how much better you're able to think and how much better you're able to execute any types of problems. And it turns into like a warrior, because like the problem sets and the assignments are quite difficult and quite thorough, but they're probably some of the hardest things that you will do in your adult life. So it really trains you to be able to handle like anything, even that comes with you outside of the program as well. So it's like great training, but also great exposure to other countries and other cultures as well.
Wonderful. Thank you so much, Armando.
Yeah, I think kind of just to follow up on Chris's point, I forget where I heard this, but someone said this, and I absolutely believe it to be super accurate. It's sort of like trying to drink from a fire hose. There's a lot of material, and it's gonna
everyone says that.
Yeah. It's a very difficult experience, but it's very rewarding. Kind of just being 1 year out from the program, I feel like it kind of gives you a really good toolkit. And so on the day-to-day, like I don't use everything, right? But I still find myself from time to time sort of looking back at something I did like in Q1 or Q2 and being like, oh, okay, just for a refresher. So it definitely gives you sort of like that foundational knowledge level to keep going. And this is probably something that you'll kind of discover throughout the program that this really is just sort of the tip of the iceberg, right? You need to do a whole lot of digging in order to continue to evolve with markets and with the environment, right? So it's up to you to continue to build on that knowledge from what you learn in your coursework and in your own individual readings.
Very good. Thank you so much. So, moving on, the possibility of success in the degree program and in the career path for those from non-traditional backgrounds. And what I mean by that is not from a STEM background, which neither one of you were, very much from a STEM background, like we typically have. I think currently in the class, we have 67% engineers. So with that perspective, I'd love to hear from you about the possibility of success. I mean, Armando, you're already sitting in front of us as a success story. So if you could share that.
Yeah, so it's going to be difficult, if not a bit more. So my advice would sort of be, there's sort of three components, right? There's the finance aspect, the economics aspect, then there's the math aspect, and then you have your programming aspect, right? I would say that if you could maybe work on, say, understanding your baseline finance and economics knowledge, and then trying to either focus on math or CS, you could be very successful. I think going into the program with 2 out of those 3 sort of foundations set up, I think it sets you up for success. And whether that is, taking some calculus courses or linear algebra or whatever math you might be deficient in, or as simple as, I forget the name of the website, but taking some online programming classes from like Code Academy or Udemy or one of those types of services. Camp. Yeah, Data Camp. So I'd say, yeah, just try and think of where you might be deficient and, just attack those deficiencies, because it's going to be a lot easier to attack them before the start of the program. So.
Right, rather than during.
Yeah.
Chris? Oh, you're muted.
I was reading the chat trying to respond to a question or two. What was the question that you asked?
Oh, so the possibility of success in the degree program and in the career path.
Yeah. Well, I definitely think that so because it's like drinking water from a fire hose. There's not going to be any one student who's going to outright master every class, everything from I haven't seen it in my year. Because even with the students that are really good in STEM, the finance aspect and the finance intuition, it's just not there because they haven't learned it. So it's definitely you can work out of where your strength is. So work out of where your strength is, and then once you fully get the corners of it, then what our Armando said, you definitely should choose one aspect to work on. And it's kind of since the program is moving so fast, you kind of just have to keep pace with it. And you learn what your pace is to add on to the things that you don't know, like the math and the comp sci, and you develop a kind of structure and a pace that by the end of Q1, by the end of Q2 and a Q3, you meet your progress goals in it. And it's like I said again, it's every person in the program from one quarter to the next, no matter how well your Python skills are and your math skills are, it's kind of every quarter it's a restart. So if you mastered the StoCalc Q1, Q2, all of that StoCalc, it was great, but now it's something new. So it's definitely keeping pace with the program and just making sure that you're able to work out of your mastery, but also add on to the skills at the pace you need to week by week. So by the end of each quarter and by midway through, you're peaking with the with the material, with the problem sets, and you definitely will do it. It's a mindset thing. You have to go in with the positive attitude, and you have to go in knowing that you're in school. So you're not supposed to just know everything prior to, or you wouldn't be here. So you're learning something, and just understanding what your pace for learning is, and just attacking it, and just know that every year of an MFE prior to you went through the same thing. The same exact thing. Everything that you may potentially feel, we felt it, and we said the same thing to the year right above us too, and it was just this whole chain rule. So you're not alone. You're actually very, very empowered.
Exactly. That's a great point. You're not alone, and we do try and prepare you for this, but it is very important to remember that you are learning here. It's not something that you have to know before you join. So I was wondering if either one of you or both of you can give some information or insight to students that are studying in STEM backgrounds like engineering, math, physics, computer science. Why should they choose a career in quantitative finance versus going further into their own educational field?
I think, Chris, do you want to go or?
Armando, you can go.
Okay. So for me,
I think already. So
I think for me, it's kind of one thing, and it's the environment's changing, right? There's like, you can be working on one thing and then suddenly the market will throw you a curveball and you're working on something completely different, right? I just think it's so fascinating. And there's also a very human element in what is a market fundamentally, and how humans can sort of affect this, and what are the implications. Like, I just think the challenges are super interesting, and it's quantitative finance is still a relatively young field. So there's still a whole lot of things to discover, and we're still barely scraping the barrel of applying new technology to these problems. So I just think it's really interesting.
That's great.
And to add on, I would say that of course you definitely can pursue the education in your own field, but just even like the historical evidence, a lot of people transfer over because they realize that there's a lot of utility and power in using the skills in the financial sector, because a lot of the higher level things that you learn in your STEM program, they're one-to-one transferable to like the finance field. So it's specifically if you have like the interest in your own education, you can still maintain that interest as well as building upon it. And being in a highly lucrative field. And that's something that I don't know if I should say or not, but of course, like the finance, it pays more. Just like that's a fact. So it definitely pays more. So it would help you be able to even have like a fuller experience too as well, because you can still study what you want to study, and you're using your skills to make a great living, and then also be a part of some exciting new products, like what Armando said. The quant world is still very new, so it's still very it's still a good point to become like a master at it early, and like one of the early masters, because in the traditional finance space, of course, and even like the other STEM fields, it's very long history, and it has a lot of leaders, long-time leaders. But you can make a name for yourself in this industry in a shorter time, and it's a higher room for like exponential big leaps and bounds.
Very good. Thank you so much. And I was wondering if you could give us information on how an MFE creates career opportunities. Anyone want to take that one?
Yeah.
Oh, Chris,
you're muted.
I do it all the time. Sorry. I would definitely say prior to, like working on like the networking skills is massive, and I think that that's really why the fact that the MFE in UCLA Anderson is a part of the business school and not just like the engineering school is important, is that you learn the importance of networking, and that's also in creating your career, and like being able to articulate what your strengths are And there are a lot of jobs and a lot of companies that don't even know the skills that an MFE can possess to help their business become much more efficient. They have no idea. Like they have no idea how in depth the market analysis can go, and how mathematical and how crisp it can be, and how much more crisper it can get. So being able to articulate and market yourself, you can create your career opportunities in fields that had no idea what quant research was, and just being able to like build projects and to take data that companies have had access to and do something new with it. That is a clear selling point and a marketing point to your own skills and to your own abilities. And if you can, of course, help make business profitable, and of course, like create new financial trading instruments and trading, like that alone can open doors to your career way that you want it.
Great. Armando?
Yeah, so kind of going off of that, I think in addition to what Chris just mentioned, I feel like the MFE also sort of, it's sort of like a cover letter in a sense, where you'll be able to at least get into that first round interview, and then from there you can show them your skills, right? And so like, say without an MFE, like it's difficult to sort of, apply online without a reference it and get a sort of interview or anything. I feel the MFE does a good job of at least getting your foot in the door for various types of career fields. I know from like my generation of colleagues working in different types of fields, and for us, we were the COVID generation, so networking in person was rather difficult. And so just having to rely a bit more on the brand name to sort of get your foot in the door, I think it just speaks for itself.
Right. That's wonderful. Thank you so much. And, I believe we do have some who are joining the Embracing Diversity Conference this whole week. For those and everyone on this call, is there something they should be doing now to best prepare themselves to successfully get into a top MFE program such as UCLA Anderson? I know you mentioned some things like, the computer programming aspect, but if you could be a little more exact, give a little more detail.
Okay, yeah. So I think I'll hit the sort of the hard sort of skills first, and then I'll talk about other things that I think are just as important. So obviously there's like your math, right? You should have your basic, 3 core sequence in calculus, your linear algebra, your differential equations, all that good stuff. In terms of programming, maybe have some experience in either like Python or R, have a decent understanding of statistics, econometrics, probability, one of those things. And then some just general finance knowledge couldn't hurt. In terms of other aspects that aren't maybe necessarily as tangible, I would say working on communication and presentation abilities, or your soft spoken skills, are a major plus. There's very limited, or how should I say this? It's complicated to explain very technical results if you don't have a total grasp of the material, and B, you can't sort of translate it to common English. So just being able to work on communication and presentation, I think, are a major point of importance.
Right. Thank you so much. And Chris, do you have anything to add to that? Oh, you're muted again.
Nothing to add. That was a pretty much like very well wrapped.
Great. And for Armando, now we can ask you, what are you doing now?
Yeah, so like I said, I'm a quant research analyst at BlackRock. So some of my projects are working essentially with private markets and healthcare, and I mostly focus on like signal research as well as a couple of things in product development.
Great. And Armando, can you tell them how you got your job? Maybe rewind and let them know what you did for your internship and how you got the internship, and then how you got your full-time offer.
Yeah, so I don't recall the timeline exactly, but essentially once you get accepted, couple of months out, or like even like a month out, someone will from the career services. I forget. I think it was Sheila Benko at the time, who was the career services director, reaches out to you and starts hammering down on your resume, telling you how to improve, because it's gonna take some work to get that into fighting shape. And so kind of even before the program started, I started working on that resume. I ended up applying to BlackRock for an internship, and just take note, I didn't have any prior work experience. I didn't even have relevant internship experience. I applied, I got to the interview phase. The MFE program helped me prep for the interviews. That went well. I ended up actually getting the internship offer, and then kind of the summer in between the MFE program and the final quarter, I interned. It was remotely as well, so very difficult to sort of show any soft skills. So I was really dependent on like what I could actually produce. So that went well. They liked what I was able to do. They liked how I interacted with people. And so I got the offer. And then after graduation, I moved up to San Francisco and been working ever since.
Great. That's amazing, Armando. And you know, I know you put a lot of hard work into that as well. It wasn't just the MFE career support team, which now we have Amber Deister. Sheila Benko has retired, and we have a great career services director, Amber Deister, as I mentioned. So if any of you apply and are admitted, you would be working directly with Amber and our team of career support, and they are all really great. We've got one full-time career coach that is based in New York City and has many connections. She worked in Wall Street for several years, so that's an amazing addition to our career support team. And Chris, you know, maybe you can talk about what you did for your summer. Did you work on a research project, or did you actually do an internship? Maybe tell everyone about that.
Yeah, so I worked with Chitika Global. It's a firm, and I focused on a lot of market research. So I had a fun time. It was almost fully remote, but we actually went in person 1 day a week. We were still like limping post-COVID.
Okay.
I expect any internship that you all have will maybe be more in person than mine.
More in person.
I did a lot of market research and using a lot of like the data and profiling. It wasn't particularly linked to any one course, which I enjoyed, because my mind, I'm definitely like to break it. Also like the problem solving of trying to implement a lot of the tools that we learned throughout the year in a different way, and even in a more general way, because a lot of the what the program does is highly specialized and it's very very specific, but understanding like the macro and the micro environments over this past summer. And I'm pretty sure, Armando, you can relate. Like this was probably one of the most actively traded summers in a long time. And and it was nice to understand why. There were a lot of factors that were going on, and being able to take past data and create like market reports, and also use it to streamline advice and responses to investment clients, and matching what's going on with the market to how the client individually has their own risk tolerance.
Right.
So that it was a very interesting role, which it was a cross between my soft skills and like the harder skills. And it was nice to be in a working environment again, and not every week. You understand me? It's like nice to just work.
Right. Yes. I see that. So if either one of you could give us information on the culture of firms that you worked in or are working in, do you find your firm and colleagues welcoming of diversity? How is it in that quant finance space?
I'd say because I've been through, like I said, I've had prior corporate experience in sales, particularly, and in the quant space is kind of very opposite. One is very client facing, is very social, and then like one is very specific, and it's not too client facing. So I say that that the diversity, like being realistic, it is a challenge, as it's like reflected in like the numbers. It's not a challenge to be accepted. It's just a challenge of like waiting for the numbers to accurately represent like what the population or the interest level is. Like you're waiting for things to settle down, but it also comes with like having the representation to kind of like buoy and kind of hold more people to come in. I like equated to it's like you're like holding the door open and like you're like rushing people on the arm saying go 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 go. It's like that's like right. That's the way to go about it, is like knowing that you know, like you have interest here and pursue it. Don't let the lack of a representation like dismay you, because your representation will allow for someone else to have an easier process in it. Like right. Just playing your part. And of course, corporations nowadays have I imagine, I'm not that old, but I imagine they're a lot more welcoming than they have been even in the past. And definitely progress has been made. Right. Enough progress has been made to be able to feel comfortable like pursuing this and not like slamming the door in your own face just because you don't see anything. Like keep going at the next step, and and haven't had any outward issues so far with that mindset.
That's great.
Yeah, I'd agree that it's rather quite homogenous. However, there does seem to be like a concerted effort to try and actually embrace diversity at these companies. And kind of speaking from where I'm at, our team has certainly been like it's one of the more diverse teams in the company, and it's still making quite an effort to actually do better. And like Chris said, you're gonna be probably one of the first people in the door, but you definitely won't be the last. So you definitely need to help kind of prop it open. It's always easier to go through a path when you see someone who kind of looks like you do it yourself. So
exactly. And on the heels of that, what are some of the diversity initiatives that your company is supporting? What kind of resources do they provide?
So at BlackRock, we have our employee networks group. So it's employee networks and allies specifically. So you have your women's and allies, you have your LGBTQ plus and allies, your Latinx and allies, and like veterans and allies. And there's quite a bit more that I'm just blanking off the top of my head. Right. And so each kind of network group just kind of focuses towards issues that one group may be experiencing within the company that maybe the rest of the sort of company or people outside of that community may not necessarily be aware of. And so it's sort of providing some resources as well as a space to sort of be able to air out those issues and begin to address them.
Right. That's great to hear. And it sounds like your company is actually encouraging you to join clubs that, within the company that support you. Am I getting the right feeling?
Yes. In fact, for our sort of yearly review, one of the main aspects is how are you contributing to sort of a diverse and welcoming environment. So they definitely sort of place a premium on that. Okay,
very good. That's great to hear from a company as large as BlackRock. Yeah, Chris. Why do you think this sector struggles with diversity?
Okay, I'm not muted.
Okay, you're not.
I would definitely say, of course, just a historical lack. It's kind of difficult to expect the forest to grow from concrete or where you didn't put any seeds. And it's like, how is the growth ever going to be there if there's nothing like to multiply? So I would definitely. Oh, sorry, my sound went out. So I would definitely. My sound is back. So I would definitely say that, of course, it's just a result of what was. But of course, it takes enough of a concerted effort from all parties involved to change the needle. It takes people opening the door, and it also takes people walking through it.
Right.
Because like if there's a door open, it's like no one's walking through, then like the door kind of will close itself. And this is people who are waiting in line, but the door doesn't open, then like no one gets in. So there has to be like a marriage between having interested people and having people be able to open the door and to expand it.
Right, exactly. Thank you so much, Chris. And you know, I know we're bumping up against time, and I want to be mindful of that. We would like to open it up to chat, and I see there are some, or at least one person who has asked some questions. We've got some people joining us from very far away, Rwanda. Welcome. I'm not sure what time it is for you, but that's impressive. Is there, let's see. So we've got, Jeff, maybe you could go through and figure out if some questions have been answered.
The only question I see that was answered was Chris addressed what programming languages do you recommend, and he emphasized Python.
Okay.
We'd also recommend coming in with knowledge of R. Definitely Python is the leading language in the industry, but we do use R in our program as well. It's beneficial for, depending on the role in the company, for financial engineering to also have some knowledge of C++, but we don't require that for our program. It's not a requirement to apply.
Right. And I see one other, let's see. My name is Honoré, or I'm hoping I'm pronouncing that correctly, but from Rwanda. I'm an undergraduate student in University of Rwanda, and you're studying applied mathematics, but your program is only 3 years to get your bachelor's degree. And your question is, are you eligible to apply to our program? That is something, if you could send us a separate email, and I actually do have the contact us webpage here. If you wouldn't mind sending Jeff and I, or you know, one of us, that particular question, we can look into it and see what is required as far as a 3-year degree. But my feeling is that you do need a 4-year degree. What you could do is get a postgraduate diploma in applied math or finance or something like that. But that's something that I would definitely need to take a double check on. And then is focused on financial aid. Can you explain deeply what those scholarships cover? Thank you. So the scholarships do cover part of tuition. As far as what you're looking for with regard to more information, there is more information on our financing webpage. So I would recommend that you go on our finance webpage, and I see that Jeff is looking for the link, and he'll put it in our chat. But it does cover a portion, a small portion of your tuition. It does not cover the entire tuition. But we do have financial aid loans, grad student loans, which are available. That would cover up to the entire amount of the tuition. And you would need to come up with the $20,000 or so that it requires to pay for your living expenses. So moving on, let's see. We have a question. Okay. What are your recommendations on applying straight out of undergrad for an international student? What programming languages? So Chris answered that question, but recommendations on applying straight out of undergrad for an international student. The majority of our class is from undergrad, but maybe, Armando can speak to his experience coming straight out of undergrad.
Yeah, I mean, I would say just try and prepare as much as you can in terms of strengthening up your mathematics and your computational programming background. Obviously, some foundational knowledge in finance and economics is useful, but you could definitely pick that up easier than the other two throughout the program.
Right.
So that would just be my suggestion.
Great. Faisal also has a question. Can an MFE increase an international student's chances in getting sponsored by a company for an H-1B visa in order to stay and work in the United States? So that's a great question. And a number of our international students have been sponsored for H-1B visas. That does happen. And what I would say is that because our program is STEM designated, you also, on top of the 12 months, you also get another 24 months for a total of 36 months that you can work in the US. That means 3 years you can work in the US with your STEM designated degree. So during that time, that's when many of our grads have actually been sponsored for an H-1B visa. So that is definitely a possibility, although, we can't guarantee that. Luis is saying, from the moment when you applied to the moment when you started the program, did you brush up on any topics you felt needed strengthening? So I feel like we kind of went over that, Armando. You mentioned, brushing up on the math and the programming, but is there anything you wish you would have done or would recommend?
I mean, for me, the thing I brushed up on most was programming. Coming from a math econ background, programming was by far my weakest base. So I drilled down on that. I wish I would have been a bit more disciplined. So maybe coming up with a proper plan of what you want to attack, what you want to learn before the start of the program would be useful. But other than that, this is more of a person by person basis. It's going to take some self-reflection to realize what you're lacking really.
Right. And Luis is also asking, in your experience, how fast-paced was the program? Were you able to explore non-course related interests? Chris, maybe since you're still in the program, you can address that. Are you muted?
Yeah, sorry, I was coming off of mute.
Okay, no problem.
Yeah. In regards to entering the program.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
No, the question, the second question there from Luis. They were wondering if the program was fast-paced. How fast-paced was it? Were you able to explore non-course related interests?
Yeah, the program is super fast-paced, but I also think that it's a degree of your personality. It depends on how much you want to commit yourself to outside the program, and you can do both, but you just have to be very mindful and conscious of it. So I took it upon myself to explore UCLA's campus often and to get in touch with the undergrad and the non-business school. Not everyone does that because it's not too easy to get accustomed to the culture of a US school, but that's like the fun part of it. So it's definitely room for it. I'm actually right here with my classmate now. He had met me at 2:00 to go explore campus together. So
wonderful.
Yeah, so you definitely do have time. You also can, well, not in Q1, but Q3 and Q4, you could even start to think about taking classes that aren't just for the MFEs, and whether it could be like an undergrad class of interest or a different MBA class. So it is fast paced, but you will end up having room if you want it enough. If you want that out of business school experience, even just a couple hours a week, you definitely can't do that. But you have to, try,
Very
reach
good.
out.
Very good. Thank you. And let's see, how much do people's career goals change throughout the program? Does the program broaden your view on your future employment options?
It broadens and specifies it, if that makes sense.
Yes.
I would definitely say that it exposes you to more career opportunities, but the level of difficulty, not difficulty because that's such a scary word, but the level of specification that we're learning, you realize that you can operate at a much more specialized level of any role that you're thinking about. Like it gets a lot more unique to what you can do, and not everybody can do what you can do. So it definitely does help you. I know a lot of people, they have changed their career paths, but it's for the better. Because you don't know precisely what you want to do, like before you do it, like 100%. But once you get more involved in it, then you go, oh, okay, this actually is cool, but this is better. And I like this corporate culture better. I may like to pay. I may like to travel. I may not like to be client facing. I do want to be client facing. So a lot of the aspects of the real world job experience and corporate culture, they do reveal themselves to you, especially through all of the meetings and networking that the program allows you to do, and pushes you and highly encourages you to do.
And thank you. That's great. And we have someone asking, Eric is asking either one of you if there are any resources, books, podcasts, etc., that you would recommend to learn more about financial engineering. I would say right off the top, not having been a student in my own program, but options, futures, and other derivatives. Armando, would you agree with me? Chris?
Yeah, I think this also comes down to interest, right? So personally, like I was never much of a fan of options pricing. So to me, like those books are like total snoozes. But I would say like find an area you're interested in, and I'd start with something simple, right? Like even something as like the Wall Street Journal or Bloomberg, and then you should start narrowing it down from there on, right? Just because some of this material can be a bit dry at first.
Right. Yeah. That's
Agreed.
great. Okay, so I know we're over time now by 10 minutes. I really appreciate you and Chris, you and Armando sticking around. I know that, Chris, we should probably let you go, and Armando. And I believe we already answered Laura's question, although actually she's asking, what skills did you learn in the program that you have found to be the most useful in your career? So maybe Armando, you can just briefly address that.
So here's the thing, right? The program, for me, right, it was kind of it was more getting an additional toolkit, right? I had some econometric knowledge, so I refined that. I was also exposed to different things in asset management. I was also exposed to things in risk management as well, which are all kind of necessary for what I do on the day-to-day. But I think like the more important thing is you kind of learn how to figure it out yourself, basically. So you're gonna get problems that aren't gonna have a textbook solution, and you're gonna learn how to basically figure it out, or how to come up with reasonable assumptions and that sort of nature, right? So I think being able to think on the fly and sort of be able to deal with a lot of headlines that are coming at you quick and being able to produce reasonable results, I think that's probably like the most important skill set I've gained.
Great. Thank you so much. And I just want to point out that Chris has said anyone that has more questions can reach out via LinkedIn and connect. Armando,
Same.
Thank
Feel
you
free to
so
reach out.
much. Thank you very much. I also wanted to point out that we have admissions ambassadors, and Chris is actually one of our admissions ambassadors. So if you go on our website, we've got the link here in our slide. However, Jeff can also pop that in. I see he's doing it. He's reading my mind. But I would just like to thank Armando, and I know Chris has already taken off to go discover another part of campus. But Armando, thank you so much for all your great insight and input. And thank you everyone for joining us. And I hope you have a great morning, afternoon, evening, whatever it is where you are located. And we look forward to reading your applications, and take care. Bye.